Okay, it's 2:30 on a Friday afternoon, and I am so excited to be on here on our mother-daughter conversations for Friday. I do want to thank you for sharing your afternoon with us, for tuning into this, being part of these conversations. And I guess maybe before we start, I do want to say that the reason for these conversations is that I have noticed, both as a mother, as an educator, and also as a therapist, that if there is one relationship in which there's a lot of stress and tension, is the mother-daughter relationships. And so a few months ago, I started having this idea of just talking about these conversations with the goal of normalizing the tension and normalizing the stress that is seen in these conversations. And so if you're here, I'm glad that you're here. I want you to go ahead and I want you to go ahead and chime in. Let me know that you're on there. But our guest today is my somebody that I promoted highly. She is a parent. She is an author. She is an African mother. And so the conversation I want us to talk about today is how does our culture affect the way that we mother? Okay. And together, she's not in the waiting room. Tell her to try the other link. Okay. So obviously we're going to have so much fun today because I'm trying to connect with my guest all the way from Nigeria. Yay! Yay! It's so good to have you on here. I can't hear you, so look again, see, make sure you're not muted. Okay, I think now I can hear you.
Okay.
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, great. I was just about to introduce you in absentia. So I'm so glad you could join. And you didn't, everybody in the World Wide Web is not thinking that internet is not working in Nigeria because it is. Yay!
Well, it's working, at least for now.
At least for now. So I was saying my guest today, and one of the things that I put on there is come on here to find out what else we have in common. Because if you heard me describe her on Facebook as I was promoting this event, I said she is an author, she is an entrepreneur, she is an educator, she is an African mother. And so guess what else we have in common? All of those are things that I am. All those are things that I am too. But today, as my guest is Mrs. Mfon Mpong Nze, and with her beautiful daughter, Nduke Abasi Nze. And so the amazing thing, if you are dying to know, and I am glad that you're able to join us, those of you who are watching live, and those of you who are going to be watching the replay, but the one thing we have in common, I'm not going to let you guess for a long time, I'm going to tell you, is that Mfon and I are sisters. So we come from a family of 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys. And there are 2 girls and a boy before Mfon, and Mfon is girl number 3. Hey, Mercy Kalu is saying hey. So just let us know you're joining us. Hey, Mercy, we're glad you're here. But today, I'm going to let you, I've said a little bit about you. So this right here on today's show is my, I hate when I can call her my little sister, but she's my little sister. It's my little sister and son.
I will always be your little sister.
Yes, ma'am.
I may be much bigger than you, but I'm your little sister.
I'll take that. So my little sister Fun, who is I'll let her introduce herself, and then we will meet her beautiful daughter Nduke.
Okay. Well, good evening. I'm in Nigeria, so I know wherever you are in the world, the time has changed or the time changes. But since I'm from Nigeria, I will say good evening because it's 8:30 p.m. in Nigeria. My name is Mfon Mpong Nze. I'm a mother of 4 wonderful children. I am a teacher by profession. I happen to be the principal of the Nigerian Christian Institute, a premier private school in Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria. Yes, it is a premier school. Thank you very much. It's a job I absolutely adore. And I've been in the administration of that school for over 20 years and working with children and parents and all of that kind of sort of pushed me into exploring parenting. Okay. And so I ended up being a parenting advocate, and now I'm a parenting coach. I try to help parents parent better because I saw that it's the relationship between parenting and discipline and child achievement and all of that is so vast, and
Mhm.
there's very little teaching being done on parenting. So because I'm a teacher, I teach parenting and coach parenting. I've written two books on parenting, Your
Mhm.
Parenting Companion 1 and Your Parenting Companion 2. Your Parenting Companion 1 talks about raising your child from 0 to 1 year, and 2 talks about raising your child to from 1 to 5 years old. I also have a radio show where I talk parenting. It's called Parenting Today. That's here in Nigeria, but they stream it, so you can even get it on the internet anywhere. It's on Comfort 95.1 FM at 8:30 a.m. every Saturday morning. So I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm a coach, I'm a radio talk show personality. Woo, man, I'm a whole lot, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. You are. Oh, Austin, I'm so glad that you're here. And Mercy, you're still there. And a few other people that you're joining, just feel free to type in hi in there. But I am awed by you and all that you do. And so when I
Oh, did
thought
I mention that I happen to be a little sister to two awesome big sisters?
about,
Dr. Fangide is my big sister, and also Dr. Idoma Setupong Ruffin, my other big sister. So shout out to my big sisters.
yeah, we take credit for everything you are. Probably mom and dad had very little to do with it, but we take a lot of the credit for the good things anyway. Okay,
Mhm.
so if you're just joining us, hey, Mfoni Toro is on there. If you are just joining us, when I invited Mrs. Nze to be my guest today, it wasn't just as a mother, but it was as a parenting expert. And, so I'm so glad that on Saturday mornings you choose to talk to the people of Akwa Ibom State and the neighboring areas and, by the internet, the wide web about parenting issues. But let's go ahead and meet Nduke, then we'll start having the conversations. So her beautiful daughter is here on these mother-daughter conversations. Tell us a little bit about you, Nduke.
Hi, so I am Nduka Basinze. I'm from Nigeria, obviously. And of the four wonderful children she has, I'm the second, the most wonderful of them all.
Of course.
But
I
yeah,
didn't say
the
that.
second. Yes, and what else about me? I am not a parenting coach. I am not a daughtering coach. I am like just
Just
going
a
to school
daughter.
right now.
You are a college
So just a
student.
daughter.
You are a college
Yes, I'm a
student.
college student. I'm in my final year in college.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, I
You're a
live
rising
with one
senior.
of her big sisters, and
You
they're
you are
awesome people.
you are a
I
pre-med
have
major.
no,
She's a
yes,
she's a
yes,
pre-med major, goes to school at Faulkner and is about to be a senior. And so, I'm glad that y'all could be here. I love that across the seas, we can talk about something that I think is very important because, yeah, whether you're listening as a mother, whether you're listening as a daughter, whether you're listening as, someone who loves mothers and daughters, you probably have noticed that the relationship between mothers and daughters it has a very different dynamics, and when I started this conversation, one of the things that I said was, when I had a daughter, I thought, I'm a girl, she's a girl. I know everything about raising girls. And then my daughter came and my daughter grew. And I realized that there is so much about that she's not like me at all. So I guess I want to kick off the conversation. And if you're joining and you have any question, or as questions come up, go ahead and put it in the comment section and we'll take a look at it. But I do want you guys to begin by, maybe Nduke, you begin. Tell me some of the ways in which you are similar to your mom, your traits and your characteristics, and you're like your mother, and some ways in which you're different from your mom.
Okay, let's see. Okay, similarities first. Um, Character-wise, we like getting things done.
Mm.
So, like, if we're given a task, we like making sure that it's like completely done the right way, so we can get it done once and not come and do it over and over again. Get
Okay.
it done fast, get it done quick, so we can take our rest time. And yeah, what else? Um,
You forgot the most
I,
important one. We're both beautiful people. Hello, child.
that is like obvious,
That's
but
given.
yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Um, we have similar personalities when it comes to like patience. A lot of people say we're impatient, but I don't believe that. We
Mhm.
just have a very low tolerance for nonsense, as
Or
we call it.
foolishness, right?
Yes, that's what we call it, like that way. Facial expressions, of course. Our faces do a lot of talking for us. And so a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, what you just did, you look just like your mom. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. But yes. Let's see. Differences. She's more outgoing than I am. I prefer just to be in my space by myself, to be honest, most of the time. And when I feel like it, I do interact with people.
Mhm.
But she's like, oh yes, of course she likes her house. She's like, this is my house, it's my place. But she's like, people, yay, people, oh hi, people. She'll go to parties and then she'll be like dancing, and I'm like, why? It's not your birthday. Sit down, mommy. But no, 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 no. She has to be in the middle of the dance floor, and we're so different when it comes to that. But
Okay.
yeah,
You only dance at home.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
Mfan, how do you think that, would you say in your relationship with Nduke that the differences are more than the similarities, or would you say you're more similar than you are different?
I like to think we're more similar than we are different.
Okay.
Um, in the things that matter,
Okay.
because we are committed people, you know,
Hmm.
and that's important. I think we have a high level of discipline. You know, once we start a task, we both try to finish it and finish it well.
Hmm.
And so Nduke is very much like me in that you can count on Nduke, you know. Um, unfortunately, we are straight arrows. So you don't want to ask us a question if you're not ready to hear the truth. Nduke is very much like me in that, we call it brutal honesty.
Hmm.
And and so to me, those are some things that matter, and we're similar in those ways. I'm an, as she said, an extroverted extrovert. I think one of my sons said that yesterday. Well, Luke is an introverted extrovert, so a little bit different, but deep down, we
Hmm.
like people, and so
Okay.
that connects us. So I
Okay.
think that we have more similarities, and that
Uh,
makes parenting her easy for me.
Easy. Okay. Well, that goes into my next question. Are there any times that you can remember, maybe when she was little or as she grew up a little bit, in which the differences affected the way you mother her? The differences impacted the relationship.
Hmm. Are there times when the differences have impacted the relationship? Likely, I think so. At least, there are times that I feel we should be with everybody. We should go out. We should, just go out and be with everybody. For instance,
Hmm.
maybe we're having a family thing, and because we live in Nigeria, family is big, and family is not just, the five of us in the house. Family
Hmm.
is, the uncles, the aunties, the cousins,
Everybody, everybody
the
that is from your village.
extended family, the people that you
Yes.
don't even know their names, but that have an ancestor in common with you in one way or other.
Mhm.
And so at times like that, I'm the oh yeah, have you met this auntie? Come, come, come. You don't know this person. Come, come, come. And it's like, mommy, why?
Mhm.
Mommy, why?
Mhm.
And so a few times that will impact it and how she will react to something because I feel she's also one of the differences is that she's much more sensitive than I am.
Mm.
Yes, things
That's
will
true.
hurt me, but once if they hurt me, I will let you know and move on.
Mhm.
But she, she's likely to stay on that and try to figure out why would you have done something like that to her and how could and all of that and it's harder for her to just move past, blow up
Mm.
and get it over with and move on. And it's taking me some time,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
to be able to deal with that level of sensitivity. Because for me, oh well, it happened. you know,
Right.
milk,
Right.
milk.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, and I
I
think
think I
yeah.
think
Okay, go ahead.
for me it depends more on like people, you know, because like if something happens like between me and my mom, like if she does something that hurts me, I would like think I'm like maybe she didn't mean to, you know, like I mean she's not like that. Like she did it's not maybe I did something, you know, like I'll think all of that. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's between like my family, I'm like more cautious telling them things they did because I don't want them to feel like like they're neglecting me. I just
Right.
like okay, I just think about it like okay, no, it's not them. And
Mhm.
so that's where it comes like, okay, my mom is like, okay, you just tell me. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't, it's not really a big deal, but it's
Mhm.
affecting me somehow.
Mhm.
So that's how it has differences
That's one
in
of the
Right.
things.
sensitivity.
That's for me. In cases like that, I would rather, oh, sweetie, you look upset. What's wrong?
And
You
she'll
tell
tell
me, I
you.
go deal with it, and whereas she's still ruminating, still trying to process it, still
Mhm.
trying to decide should it matter, should it not, all of that. And so
Mhm.
yeah, that makes it a little bit. I don't know. I've seen a question here from Austin.
Mhm.
Uh, that are there similar traits shared by both mom and daughter that stand out? I think so. We're both awesome people. Isn't that? I mean, come on.
Mhm.
That. sorry. I couldn't
No,
I
resist.
you're fine, of course.
I think we're similar in we deal with stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like if we have something going on and I have to like be in charge of people, most of the time I'm just like my mom, like, okay, let's get it done. No time for no dilly dallying, move. Let's finish. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of people see that when I'm in charge of something, I'm just like her, like, all right, we're not playing here, do exactly what we're supposed to do
Mhm.
and get like that is very similar if you just look at us
Mhm.
working.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
when we work, we're
What is
very
a like?
similar.
You
Yes.
work together well. And I think that, I like that. Thank you, Austin. Thank you for that question. Because a lot of times when it's easy to mother someone that is similar to you because you understand the way their brain is working, the way their mind is working. And so if our daughters were so much like us, it would be so easy to mother them. And
Mm,
it would be so easy. And so but finding out that they're not us, they're not like
exactly.
us, there are things in which they are different sometimes. And that's what I got from Austin's question. Sometimes in spite of the differences, you go back and you fall on what you do have in common, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so that was good. Thank you. I love the answers that y'all gave. um so how do you now handle those areas in which you are different? And you mentioned a very good one, a big one, which is I don't understand this mindset of processing internally and not talking about what's bothering you. And so the tendency is you either get impatient, you try to drag it out of her. You're an African mother, you beat it out of her. Sorry, guys.
Yes, so
Okay, sorry. Like in Africa, beating is really not beating. It's kind of like, lovingly pat it out of her. How's that? Okay.
love
So,
that, love that,
yes,
love
there you
that.
go. You do, but so that's what you want to do. But realizing that just because I don't process that way, she processes that way. What helped you so that did not create the difference, did not create a strain?
Well, as you said earlier, jokingly, having outstanding big sisters helped like nothing else. And I've been blessed enough that I've actually lived with my big sisters, sometimes for months at a time, and watched them interact and had to interact with them and learn from them. I remember my big sister Idong telling me that it's important to love somebody the way they want to be loved, not the way you want to be loved. And that has helped me in raising my children a
Mm,
lot. I keep
mm,
going back to that. And so
mm,
when I'm like, why don't you just tell me what the problem is? If we talk about it, and then I will just hear my sister's voice in my head, okay, it's not fun. Okay,
mm,
so I will pause and regroup and go, okay, you want to think about it and just, okay, let's talk about it later. I'll give you an hour, I'll give you 2 hours or whatever, because I remember that, okay, I need to love her the way she needs to be loved, not the way I would like to be
mm,
loved. So having you guys and watching the things that you guys do that work also, and look at becoming a young adult coming way after Salem and Fanny. So my two big sisters have had, daughters, and I've watched them mother their daughters. And so, and their daughters are also in some ways very dissimilar from the mothers. And so when I watch them deal with that, I'm able to pick from them. And of course,
Mm.
going through in the last 10 years or so that I've been researching parenting and all of this, I've also picked up a few tricks of the trade and
Mhm.
and therefore make my
That
parenting
that
journey
has
a little bit easier.
Okay, great. I love that because what I heard you say was it takes a community.
Oh
These
yeah.
children aren't really born with a manual at every stage, but
No
being able to
ma'am, no
surround
ma'am.
yourself with a community of people that are at different stages of mothering. And that's what I hear, You may not be as blessed as Mfon was to have big sisters, and or you may not be the person who really learns from your big sisters, but there are people in your communities, there are people in your church, that there are people in your women groups, there are people that, surround yourself intentionally with people and watch them and then see what you can glean from them. So that's good. That's good. I
You
like
said it so much better. Maybe I should just mention what I want to say and let you just even run because
that. No, then it would be me. No,
um,
it would be me talking to
in the family we call her the communicator because she always knows the exact way to put
myself.
something and ensure that it comes across the way you want it. So that's just what you did. I think that probably the most important part of mothering Duque, and I guess by extension her siblings, her sister, her brothers, is intentionality. I always knew, oh, I want to have this type of child. I want to have this type of relationship with my child. And so when I
Mm,
saw people that had that kind of relationship, I was looking at, okay, what are they doing? What are they not doing? When I also
mm.
saw people that did not have that kind of relationship, I was looking to say,
You're
okay,
like,
what are they doing so I can make sure I don't do that?
right. I love
So being
that.
intentional about it and planning, knowing exactly what you want, and then looking for examples that you can model after or model against really, really help.
I like that. I'm just going to put that on there. If you are just joining us, my guest today is Mrs. Mfonpongze. She is the principal of Nigerian Christian Institute in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria. And she is a parenting expert. She has her own talk show on Saturday mornings on parenting. She is the principal of a school, an author of books on parenting. She has her own talk show. She's a parenting coach, but she's also the mother of Nduka Basinze, who is a college senior pre-med major, and both of them were having these conversations. But one of the things and fun said that I put on there is the need for intentionality. Successful mothering is not just going to happen.
At
And I
all.
love what you just said. You have to have a vision for the kind of relationship that you want to have with your daughter, and then surround yourself with a community that can help you or that you can model your mothering after, and also people that you see mothering didn't work, so you know what not to do. Okay. Okay, great. Well, we're going to talk about maybe Nduke, I'll let you talk for a little bit. But as you were growing up with your mother, we've talked about how she handled the differences and we've talked about how she handled the similarities. Were there certain expectations or challenges that you had? And maybe let's stay with expectations. Were there expectations that you had of how you could have been mothered or should have been mothered, or expectations of being mothered at different stages? If there were, how has that changed through the years?
Okay, let's see. Okay, so my mom is a principal and I went to her school. So yeah. But anyway, so as seeing her as a principal, she like disciplined people and all that stuff. And so I expected her to be like super strict about certain stuff, like just like strict. Like, hey, study. I mean, she was strict about us studying, but it wasn't like a tyrant study, 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 study. That was not our life. It was like there were times to study and then there were times she let us play, and also another thing was in when it comes to like relationships with people, like just friendships or like even like with the opposite sex. Because growing up, I'm super young. So in high school stage, I was super young. So growing up with that, so I expected my mom to be like, "Hey, don't talk to boys, don't look at boys. Hey, always don't even like do it like." So I was kind of shocked, surprised that our
Hmm.
relationship was not like that, because like she was not be like, okay, so tell me what's going on. Like sometimes she'd be like, are there any boys you like? And of course I'll be like, ew, boys, no, what do you mean? But yeah, I had an expectation of her to be strict, like about a lot of stuff, and she wasn't. And that was really good. Now that I'm going, it was really good because like she saw my friends and she didn't like raise an eyebrow anytime she saw me with a boy or anything. She was just kind of like, okay, just
Yeah.
moving on. She would see me and just walk past. And when I go home, she would be like, She wasn't like
Uh-huh.
anything. She was just like, it's a friend. Move on. And
Right.
so that was good growing. And that was just something that was different than what I expected.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Very, very good. So we lost you for a minute in fun, but
Yes.
I'm glad you're back. Can you guys hear me well? I hear some
you're
echo.
echoing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're echoing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we have to depend on the network connection I have. It's raining outside, so
It's fine.
Oh,
affects
you're fine. You're fine.
network here.
Okay.
So
No, I'm glad you were able to get on. When we lose you for a minute, we'll know you'll come back on. That's fine. So
okay.
Nduke was talking a little bit about some of the expectations that she had because you were her school principal and her thinking
Hmm.
that you would be extremely strict as principal. But what I love that she said was you were able to differentiate between your role as the principal and also your role as her mother. And she
Hmm.
enjoyed the relationship with you as her mom because you weren't too strict.
I
Bring the
was not.
principal.
I was not Madam Principal at home.
Yeah, so that's very big kudos to you. I want to ask you. I want to ask you, Mfon,
Okay.
maybe the major thing that I wanted to talk about today is how culture impacts parenting, and I think
Hmm.
that for you, this is really huge because we were raised in our early childhood years in the U.S.
Hmm.
And then we went back to Nigeria and grew up until we finished high school. And so we were raised in Nigeria. And then we came back here. So our parenting is affected by, impacted by being raised in America, part of our growing up years, and being raised in Nigeria. How do you, how has that impacted your experiences in the US, your experience in Nigeria? How has that impacted your mothering?
I think for me, it's been awesome. I've actually had the best of both worlds. And absolutely no offense intended, please. But the American culture is slightly more permissive. Okay, much more permissive, you know, than the Nigerian culture. Um, children, the American culture is not quite as strict as the Nigerian culture.
Mhm.
The Nigerian culture, on the other hand, um, expects a lot of respect, a lot of differentiation between the generations, and everybody stays in their lane, and children are seen, not heard, and all of that.
Mhm.
As I lived and grew up, not just lived, because I didn't live in the US as an adult that went there
Mhm.
and stayed after going to school. But I was a child there and then went back as a teenager, finished my teenage years and all of that. I saw how children were raised there. And I saw some things. I came back home too. I saw how children were raised. And so I was able to take the good that I saw in the US, mix with the good that I saw in Nigeria, and come up with a parenting formula that worked for me. Okay,
Mm.
because I did not want to have typical um,
Nigerian kid.
relationship exactly with my children, like a Nigerian where children are seen, not heard. They
Mhm.
never talk. They just, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, do, and then hide everything. On the
Mhm.
other hand, I did not want to have a typical American relationship where the child by 14 feels that you're mate, and except in some other cases, before you know it, they will rebel and run away from home and you go begging. And I'm not saying everybody does that, okay? So,
Right,
like,
right, right, right.
okay. But I was able to see how I could pick some things from both cultures and show a middle path where I would have children that would be very respectful, but still understand the culture. And so,
Mhm.
like I said, I think that I got the best of both worlds. And so it impacted my parenting very much. That's why my children, like the young adults, especially now that they think they've grown, child, they think they've grown. Um, they we have a relationship where they can tell me their fears, they can tell me, and when I step out of bounds, they will call me to order. I remember I think it was so weeks ago. I had an issue with one of my staff, and when my children, Nduke especially, heard about it, because this staff happened to be one of her favorite people, she called me on the carpet and was like, Mama, if that's what you're doing at work, that's not the right way to be at work. And I'm like, this child has never worked in my life.
Telling me what to do.
I work under you, okay? I work in this too. Thank you.
To me, it's that if I were only exposed to mothering in Nigeria, Nduke probably would think the same thing she's thinking, but I can't tell my mother that, so she would think I'm insulting her. And so me, I can't. But because of the other culture that I brought into my mothering, she knows that we can talk, we can relate well. And as they grow into young adulthood, our relationship shifts more and more from me being the authority, to us becoming more and more friends. And so I think that culture is important. At least for me, it has played a very important role in our mother-daughter relationship.
I love that, because what we tend to do, and I think that even now with the world being a global village, it is so easy for people to have access to how people everywhere in the world mother.
Yes, ma'am.
The danger is forgetting that you are Nigerian, your children are Nigerian, you're living in Nigeria, and you want to raise your children the way they raise them in Australia, or the way they raise them in Egypt or in Tanzania. It is what I've heard you say about what you did that worked is, and I think Austin wrote it on here, you found a parenting formula that worked. And the reason that is important is that as parents, as mothers, we will have access to how everybody else mothers. I'm not sure if that's coming from mine or where it's coming from. So I'm gonna try to.
I think it's yours.
Yeah, I think I muted you in front, and I think that I think I muted you because I think that was where the background noise was, and then I'll unmute you in a minute. But because we are going to have access to how people all over the universe mother, it is important to say, have a vision for your mothering, because everybody's always going to tell you what to do and how to do it. But if I have a vision for the kind of mother I want to be, if I have a vision for the kind of relationship I want to have with my daughters, then I can say this works. So in terms of in this culture, I'm going to take the best of this culture. I'm going to take the best of this culture. I'm going to take the best of this culture. I'm going to bring them and carve out something that works for me. And I don't think you have to be Nigerian to do that. I think you can be in America and say, hey, I love the way the Tanzanian culture does this. Or I love the way, the English people do this, and the Canadian and the Nigerians. And then you carve it, and then every home should have its own culture. And that's a conversation we have in our home. What is the culture of our home? And that culture, because we are Christians, it has to be based on scripture. But because it's based on scripture, this is our family culture. And so I love that you were able to do that. What you said was that being exposed, growing up in the US allowed you firsthand experience of that culture. Growing up in Nigeria allowed you firsthand experience with that culture. You were able to bring all of them together and form a culture that works for you. So that was really good. Nduke Abasim, how was the transition to coming over here and being brought up in that kind of culture? Specifically, you were brought up, even though your mom had her own family culture and home culture, you came from a Nigerian culture into an American culture. What were some of the similarities or differences or shockers for you as you came into this culture?
Well, first off, the food is very different, I must say. But besides that, let's see. When I first got here, I've been here for 3 years, nearing on 4. But when I got here first, it kind of shocked me how people related with each other. It's all here is like, hey, hello. And right now I've gotten used to that. But back home, it's like when you see somebody, it's like, good morning, sir, good morning, ma. Like, there's like actual giving, like, they're different ages, so different respect to the ages. You can say hey to your friends when you're walking by, but
Mm-hmm.
like to someone older than you, it's like good morning, ma, good morning, sir. And so coming here first, it was kind of like when you greet someone, hi, good morning, they'd be like, oh my gosh, she's so respectful, she's so nice. And I was kind of like, that's a normal thing,
That's
isn't it?
that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's like normal. But apparently it wasn't. And so that's something I've gotten used to. And I no longer see it as rude, but it's still like when you go home, you have to differentiate. Like, hey, switch on, switch
Mm-hmm.
back on, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And also, when I got here, I was very reluctant to share contrary opinions, especially to like older people. Like if I'm in a space with older people and they talk, back home, if other people are talking, of course you don't talk, you just listen. You're like, even if they're wrong, you're just like, yes sir, yes ma. Then when you go back to the house, you can be like, mommy, I don't think that's how this is supposed to be. But
Right.
so,
But
but
you
like,
listen.
yes. So when I first got here, it was like other people talk, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But then all this, all my college mates would be like, sir, I don't think that's right. Excuse me, sir. No. Excuse me. No. And I'm just like, wow, you guys are out here wilding. But, but, but yes. And so being here, I've like gone to a point where I know like you have to tell some people certain stuff
Mm-hmm.
so they know. But like it was just like a huge shift in like transitioning, and it was like, okay, so switch on. So when I went
Good
back home
job.
this December, it was kind of like catch yourself. Because sometimes I'll just be walking and be like, hello. And I'm like, nope, they're older than you, go back. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. And so like that's just something you have to like switch when you go to different places. And it's just the culture. So it's not like rude, but like it's
Right.
just
Right.
different culture. So just okay. Okay.
And I
And
and
also
it, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you go. Oh yeah, sorry. The other thing that's totally different it was like dressing. Dressing was so because when I first got here, Nigeria, at least growing up in my house, it was like, knee length everything, it was a bit above your knee, there's an eyebrow raise, like it's just like it was just all of that. And so coming here, it's like there's shorts, and I was like, oh my god, these girls are wearing shorts. Like they're okay, 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 they're going out in shorts. And like I was like, okay, when I go to college, I'm gonna wear like jeans, jeans and like t-shirts, which was fine. But then it's hot also, and so it's just like you have to like
Right.
adjust yourself. And so when you went home, you had to consciously make sure you don't pack stuff that is too short. But it's like, okay,
Yeah, so that's what you did.
I play soccer. Thank you. I have to wear
Okay, I
shorts.
have to wear
I have
shorts.
to wear shorts.
Just know where to
So
wear it, okay?
yes, you know where to wear your shorts and where not to. But yeah, so it's just different cultures, different places,
Hmm.
right for certain places, really right for the other. But coming here first was just an adjustment. And
Right.
so
And
yeah.
I love that. Not only was it an adjustment, but you were able to adapt well.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to, as young as you are, you're able to say, and I really have to give a shout out, but Nduke, my most beautiful niece, not my most, but my beautiful niece,
My
because I got
beautiful
other
niece,
nieces
yes.
that I don't watch, but
Hey, others are listening.
but Nduke is 18 years old and she's a senior in college. Okay, and I think her mom takes all the credit, but we thank God. But but being so young
All
and
her. It's all her.
being being so young and being able to adapt so well and know without any judgment, this is the culture and this is the culture, and I happen to be bicultural, so I
Mm-hmm.
can fit into those cultures without feeling like, okay, because I'm wearing shorts in America, that means I've given up my Nigerian values. But you're
Yes.
able, so that's really, really great. I think that speaks to me as I hear it. It speaks to the kind of relationship and open relationship you had with your mom, and with others who took part in mothering you. But Austin had a question for you, and he said, "Okay, are there situations where you felt there were things you needed to tell your mom anything? Were there things? If yes, what inspired that?" So I think what he's probably asking, and Austin, I don't know if I'm right. If I'm not, if you're still on here, just let you can comment on there. But I think what he's asking is, were there things that happened that you knew that you had to tell your mom? Maybe were there things that you didn't want to tell your mom, but you had to tell your mom and you ended up telling your mom? I'm not quite sure, but answer it any way that it makes sense to you.
Okay, give me a second. Let me just think.
Because I think as girls, there are things that I said in that previous thing, maybe in a conversation with other parents, we were very close to our mother. Her mother had a very open relationship. And even with mothers, Mfon, do you think you told your mom everything? Was there anything that you didn't tell your mom?
It's funny, but because I had you guys in many places, you guys filled in for mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were so many things that once I shared with either you or Sister Idong, you give me how to handle it, and I would go on.
Mm-hmm.
And if mom heard about it, she'd hear about it in passing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I remember when I started my period, mommy note on the last day. Okay, because you were there, and I told you, and we dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on the last day that I was like, oh, by the way,
let me tell you.
So, exactly. So I didn't tell mom everything, not because I didn't want to tell her or I was trying to keep it. I wasn't close enough to her, but because I had surrogate mothers,
that you
substitute mothers that would help me navigate all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Ndu has, I don't know if she even remembers it, but yeah, there have been things that she has told me that I was so happy about that after we dealt with it, I would go to my room and cry. And just thank God that we had the relationship where she could come to me, and tell me.
There was in high school, there was a situation that I was in that I was super young. So I was in a situation that I'm not supposed to be in at that age. But anyway, I was in this situation and it was just kind of like I was more shocked than anything else. And so I went back home and I was just sitting like something like disconnecting my brain because I'm like processing all these different feelings and stuff. I'm just like, okay. So I turned to my mom, I was like, Mommy, is this supposed to be like this? And she was like, what happened? And I told her, I just told her, I was just like, okay, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. And so we handled it. She said, can you handle it? I tried handling, I couldn't. I was like, okay, you take over. And she handled it. And thinking about it now, I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, I told my mom literally everything. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you tell your mom that? Come on. And even when my brothers knew, they were like, you told mommy? I was like, yeah, duh. I mean, we all tell mommy everything. So it was just kind of like, oh, okay. But I was just like, I think it's because we share. What inspired us, Mr. Austin?
Yes, Austin. Mm-hmm.
Yes. What inspired it is because we share. It's not one way. I don't just keep spitting and spitting and spitting. But I'm very you have to show me you love me too. I give, but if I feel like you're not receiving it, you're receiving begrudgingly, or you're not freely giving, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm going to step all the way back. So what my relationship with my mom is she tells me stuff, and I tell her stuff. So it's built up to a point where we're just okay, so we'll all just we're giving. So when I give her stuff, I know that she doesn't judge me. She's just okay, so this happened. Okay. What were you thinking in that moment? Why did you do this? Okay. And then we handle it from there. It's not oh my God, okay, you were totally wrong. You can't do this. You're not supposed. I'm just okay. But I feel it's just building the relationship to the point where you just know that she won't she won't beat you up for something, even though you might be in the wrong at the moment. If she sees that you're still thinking about it, you're trying to what exactly is why exactly that is wrong, you're struggling with it, it's going to be okay, let's talk about it, let's figure it out, and then maybe she'll punish you, maybe she will, depending on how she feels at that moment. But yes.
I think you said a lot of amazing things there. But one of them that stood out to me was that the reason you felt you could tell your mom anything was that she felt that she could share things with you. And the reason I think that is huge is that it's possible for us as mothers to feel like we're supposed to know it all. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to have all the answers. We're supposed to show no weakness at all. And so even when something is something that we could tell our kids, hey, I'm really struggling with this, I'm not quite sure how to handle it, and be vulnerable We don't. And if our kids do not see us be vulnerable, it's hard for them to be vulnerable with us.
Mhm.
I really, really like that. I think that a great mother-daughter relationship, especially as our daughters are not going to stay little kids forever. Okay. And the relationship we have with them when they're little kids determines the kind of relationship that will, or lays the foundation for the kind of relationship we're going to have with them as they become young adults. And so if I'm the mother, like Mfon is, that was able to be vulnerable with her daughter, with her children, and let them see when she's struggling, when her children are struggling, they're going to come to her. And I think that's really, really important as you're trying to talk about what inspired you to tell your mom things that you look back on now and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I told my mama that. But it was because you had that relationship from the time you were a child. And I think to you too, Mfon, maybe because you are a parenting expert. But one thing that comes out when Duke talks about you is that you were a listening mother. You know, you weren't a mother. Sometimes I think we have preconceived ideas of how our children should act. So as soon as they say something that's different from that, we don't even want to hear what happened, what led to that. You know, we jump to conclusions and we act based on those conclusions. And her saying that you were able to say, really? So tell me what happened? So what did you do? Well, why do you think you did that? Could you have done anything different? Okay, how do you want me to help you? You know, that's a whole process. And if I know mothering within you, everything within you already has the answers. You want to jump down on that talk. You want to, I love that. But you're intentional about stopping, asking, letting her think it through, and then empowering her. And that speaks volumes to how she can be as far away as she is from you, but still have a great relationship with you.
That what you've just said is the bottom line. When my babies left home and they were just teenagers, and it was scary. They're gonna be gone. They're gonna be far away. They can get into this and that and all of that. And so even before they left, I tried to build the relationship that we could be close even after they had left.
Mm-hmm.
So that even when they are 8,000 plus miles away, they can have it. It brings me joy that Nduke has a problem in school, and I'm one of the first people she will call. If she needs to cry, she will hold those tears. I'm not saying you cry, baby,
I do cry. That's okay.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. Sometimes you need to clean your eyes.
When she's got sand in her eye that
yeah. Hey, but you know what? If you were a pre-med major at Faulkner and you don't cry, we would be doing something wrong. Okay,
exactly. I'm just saying.
So you gotta take those chemistry classes that make you cry, those genetics classes, those physics classes. I totally get it.
When she needs to, it's gratifying that she will find a space where she can call me and cry with me. And then we sort it out and she hangs up the phone smiling. And that she knows that she can do that is just awesome. But it cannot just happen once she turns 16. You decide, or once she turns 18, you decide, okay, now that she's a young adult, you have to be this way. It's built step by step, and it's very important that parents start from a young age to do that. I also want to reiterate what you said earlier, especially those of us that are elites, let me say it that way. In Africa, once we feel that we have passed a certain threshold, we feel that, the African culture is vernacular, it is, local. And so, oh no, that's how they used to do it. In these days, they don't do it that way anymore. So we want to totally throw away every part of our culture.
Can you give me an example of when we would do that and then move forward? So give me an example.
For instance, you have a 5-year-old in a grocery store throwing a tantrum, okay? A typical African mother would pull that child outside, smack him, give him 2 spanks and tell him we're going back in, and if you don't behave, we're coming back out. That's a typical Nigerian, a typical African mother. But an elitist mother said, baby, don't, baby. Okay, don't worry. We'll stop by to Mr. Biggs and buy ice cream. You don't need to do that. Because we feel, oh no, they don't. Children are not supposed to be spanked anymore. Or you reason with children because we have seen that as part of what civilized quote unquote culture does. So it's important that we pick the one that works and modify our own, rather than just throw all of our own away.
I'm thinking about back to the what you say spanking thing. Yeah, a lot of people be like, I don't think children are supposed to be spanked. Children are not, and like, yes, I get it. Like it's like, how you just gonna hit your child? This precious little thing. Okay, but there are some children that need to be spanked. I'm just saying, different children, different children, different ways of dealing with them. Now, I am looking at the four of us in our house. I probably was spanked the least, just because apart from me being pretty wonderful, I don't work with spanking. You spank me, and I'm like, okay, woman, good job. But it was more like, okay, she has to make me feel what I did. If not, the spanking will just go into thin air. So for most of my training was kind of like, okay, sit down. This is why I'm disappointed in what you did. And this is why this. Understood what I was doing, so I avoided a lot of stuff. Also, I had a lot of learning from someone else's experience, since I had a wonderful older brother in front of me. All the beating in front before like all of us came. but yes, like I feel like there are children that need to be like, hey, listen, sit down. Okay. But hey, sorry. I just had to say that.
I think that's good, because what I hear from that is, just because it worked for an older brother whom we shall not mention by name doesn't mean because he might be watching this doesn't mean that it works for your baby sister, And so I think the key takeaway is disciplining your child looks different in the different cultures.
Yes.
But disciplining your child should also be tailored to the personality of the child, and I think that's a huge one. What you said about just because it worked doesn't mean it's antiquated. Have a culture and know our culture. For example, we're raising kids here, but we also raise kids in Africa. So we come home. Over here, it's okay for Elias, a grown-up, to give Elias something, and he takes it with his left hand. In the American culture, it's not a big deal. But in the Nigerian culture, it is a big deal. And so teaching my child, okay, listen, you can do that here, but when you go to Nigeria and an adult gives you something, you use both hands and you take it from the adults and you say thank you. Or looking an adult in the eye when they're talking to you, straight, so I think that as we mother in the different cultures, we have to first be aware of what the expectation of our culture is. And never ever feel like I am too educated or too much of an elite or too much of a middle class to fit into the culture that my children are growing up in. I think that's huge.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, when I told y'all we were going to have about 40 to an hour, you guys did not believe we would have anything to talk about. But we've got about 7 minutes left. I do want to thank everyone that's been part of this conversation today. I have been talking with the amazing Mrs. Mfangze and the beautiful
Thank you very much.
the principal of the Nigerian Christian Institute, a parenting expert and author of 2 books. Parenting Companion, right? Parenting Companion 1. There you go. I love it. And Parenting Companion 2. And maybe go ahead and tell me where we can find those books. And the reason she divided it between 1 and 2 is that 1 deals with pregnancy and having a child, a newborn. 2 deals with from 1 to how old?
5 years old.
5-year-old, and and she doesn't know this, but there's another one in the works, Parenting Companion 3, from 6-year-old to early adolescence, and then we'll have Parenting because she is a parenting expert. She's a parenting expert. If you've never listened to her show, just if you're back in Nigeria, go on. And what's the radio station again?
The show is called Parenting Today. Okay. It's on Comfort 95.1 FM.
Okay.
Here in New York. It's at 8:30 a.m. every Saturday.
Do people
Um,
call in with questions, or is it,
yes,
how do you
yes,
do it?
it's
Okay.
live. And so
Okay.
we do a little bit of talking and then we invite the audience to just contribute to the
Mhm.
conversation. That's
Great.
that's
And
that's that, that's on.
you've been doing that
Your
for
parenting companion is available at WordWorks along Oron Road here in Uyo. WordWorks
Word rock,
Bookshop,
word.
along Wangi Baron Road at the junction.
how
Also
long?
here at the Nigerian Christian Institute.
Okay.
So every parent, we said earlier that parenting doesn't come with a manual,
Mhm.
and it doesn't. But your parenting companion kind of sort of helps.
And so, I mean, I think that okay, tell me the radio station again, Comfort 91.
95.1
Okay, Comfort
Point
95.1.
one.
Putting it in the
FM,
chat, radio station or FM. Okay, FM
FM radio
radio
station,
station.
and that is 8:30 a.m. every Saturday.
Okay. And so, and the reason why I think that is so important is because there are questions that you probably haven't been able to ask, and something's going to come up. And what we don't want is we don't want you to feel as if you're completely on your own trying to raise these beautiful kids that the Lord has entrusted into your care and not really having guidance on how to do it. And that exclamation point is supposed to be parenting
One.
companion one. And so, um, and so I do want you I do want you to know that you can tune into that and see if she answers your questions, or you can get the book. And the book is going, I mean, I have a copy of the book. So, and I told okay, we're going to need to find a way of making the books available. But especially if you are a Nigerian in diaspora, if you are a Nigerian
Mhm.
and you're all over the universe and you're trying to be culturally sensitive as you raise your kids. My children grew up here and they would tell me over and over, yeah, mom, I know, I'm tired of hearing I'm a Nigerian child. But that was the mantra in our house. You're Nigerian. I have a responsibility to raise you as a Nigerian. And so if you're struggling on how to do that, get a copy of Parenting Companion 1 and 2, and be on the lookout for Parenting Companion 3 and 4. You know, and because we do need this guidance. My friend Anita said, "Thank you. I think my family is beautiful." So Anita, thank you for joining us. I need to do a mothers and sons.
We talked about
Israel,
this.
Israel has been telling me that he's
We
not
talked
watching
about
this
this.
until I do a mothers and sons. So, but I do love hearing how this is not just an issue in America. This is an issue across the seas.
Everywhere.
And I want to have those conversations with mothers because when you know you're not alone, it makes it easier. When I know that
Here,
the
yes.
struggles and the tension I'm having with my daughter, other mothers are feeling it, then I can kind of gauge from them what to expect. I can gauge from them how they did it, and I can now form my own culture. So we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to let both of you just kind of give us a general word of advice. So if you were talking to look at myself. I'll begin with you. If you were talking to a young daughter, a young adult daughter who is struggling to have the kind of amazing relationship that you have with your mother, what would be your advice to them?
My advice would be to talk to your mom. You know, for me, I feel your mom is not God, so she won't know what
Mm.
you're thinking. Because there's
Mm,
sometimes you'll be like, she should know. Why did she do that? She should know I'm not supposed to. Like, she knows that this is my life. She should not be all. She doesn't. She feels that what she's doing is best for you. So if you don't tell her, hey, mommy, right now, I just want to be left alone. I'm still thinking. Just, I will tell you when I'm ready. Tell her, mommy, this is how I want you to do this.
mm,
This is how I want you to be with me. This is how I want our relationship to be. And like you're doing something that's throwing it off. And I see that this is gonna cause a problem. So for me, it's just communicate. Tell her. When she does something that hurts you, tell her because she won't know. And she might do it again and you'll be like, oh, that time she did it. But you didn't tell her that time. So like talk.
that
And
is so wise.
This
Nduke.
is so profound,
I
isn't
know. Oh my goodness. You raise them and then they grow up and they have they have sense. I'm so proud of you right now, baby girl, because I think that is so huge. As you grow older, one of the things I tell parents in my sessions, As you grow older, you, the daughter, you create a vision of the kind of mothering, the kind of relationship you want to have with your mom. When you were little, your mom was in control of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She sought you out. She came sat with you before you went to bed. She took you on a walk. She took you to the park. As you grow older, the burden is now on you. So what you're saying is amazing. Communication, I believe, solves everything. So I love what you said. Talk to your mom. When she hurts your feelings, let her know. Because, we may be biased here, but hey, we're all females. Nobody's going to love you more than your mama. No matter what. Nobody's going to love you more than your mama. So let her know. Let her know when she hurts you. Keep talking. I love that, Luke. That was beautiful. Funny, I don't know how you're gonna top that, but if you
That's what I was gonna say. We should just, I think time is up. We should
I think we're good.
She said everything.
I don't know how you're going to top that, but I'll let you have the last word. What would you want to say to mothers not only as a parenting expert, but as a mother?
Well, don't think that your child will just know how you feel. Okay? Show how you feel. Show your child. Giving them food is not love. Okay? What your child wants most from you is time. So spend time with your daughter. Spend time. Doing nothing but just you and your daughter. Pull her into the kitchen if you're cooking. If she doesn't want to cook, let her sit down and be talking to her and asking her questions. Go for a walk with her. Give time, because time investment pays off in love. Nothing shows love like time. So mothers, we live such busy lives, constantly doing this, that. We want to give our children the very best, and so we don't give them the time. But so cut down the things you give them. Give your child, your daughter, more time. Thus, you will build the right kind of relationship. Nothing trumps time.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good that I'm putting it on there. Investing time with our daughters is more important than simply providing them with food and clothing. Nothing shows love more than time. And what is so important is that as we grow older and we get busy, time seems to be the one thing that we don't have.
Yes.
And so we allow the TV to babysit, to raise our kids. We allow social media. We allow books. We allow friends, and we are not investing time in our children. And so the question that she's leaving us with today is, if you were going to divide what you do for your children and what you do with your children, which one weighs more? That's what I'm taking away. And the only reason I'm going to be very open and vulnerable is I'm not a parenting expert. She is. But I'm almost ashamed to say, oh my goodness, I think what I do for my children often outweighs what I do with my children. But that's going to change today. I'm going to make sure that I spend more time with my children than I really do doing for my children. So I have loved this. I have loved all of you who have honored us with your time.
Are you sure the time is not coming too fast?
I do want to be respectful of your time, because I want you to come back next Friday as we have another special mother-daughter team. But keep talking, keep being part of the conversation.
Thanks for having us. Thanks
for having us.
My pleasure. Okay, everyone. I'll see you next Friday. But here we are. We have finished our 1 hour of Mothers and Daughters.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.